Welcome back. Today we're going to do a super simple, it's kind of a cougar, kind of a muddler, kind of a, it's just a cute little bait fish. It's super easy to tie, and it's a very elegant little fly. There's a lot of two-hander, you know, especially the switch swing guys and gals are running a lot of the smaller flies. This is a great swing fly. It's actually, this is a combination of 2 or 3 flies. The Cougar, there was a fly that John Clusen used to fish, the Bluebird, and then a buddy of mine, Bob, did one kind of like this, and it's kind of a combo, and it just kind of grew. It's just, as you can see, it's just a super simple little fly. This is the brown version. I basically do it in 2 colors. I do it in the brown, which is this one, which just simply means it has a gold belly with a little fox, red fox squirrel tail, and then I do it in the silver one, which I'm going to do here, just so you can see both of them. And the only difference really is that one of them's got a gray back and one of them's got it's the flank feather and the body. And you'll see it's a really fast fly. This is a great fly to skid around in small streams. I mean, you can twitch this around if you want to swing this thing. I've swung this particular fly, well, not this one, the Vice, but this fly, same size. I've swung this for steelhead on the Dean. This is a great fly for me, and it's super simple fly to tie. So it's on a $7.99 Tiemco light wire steelhead hook. You can tie whatever, and it's just an upturn. The only reason I did it in upturns is so I could hitch him back in the day. And you know, I don't always hitch this thing. I'm not always trying to keep it up. Hitching simply means you're half hitching around the eye. I fish this thing just straight hooked, right, just tied onto it a lot of times, especially when I'm on the small creeks. I mean, the fish love this thing on the creek. I'm running 6/0 nano silk, just black. Where's that one I just tied? This one, you can see underneath there, it's got I used to use burgundy on all of them. And then I was tying with this, I started doing them with this gold, or this orange underbelly on the brown one. Just gotta look good. It doesn't matter. It's not gonna hurt the fly in any way. So this one I'm gonna do black. Just wax this thread up a little bit. Now, for those of you who don't know about Atlantic salmon hooks or steelhead hooks, you can see that this has got it's a wraparound. And so when I first start this, I wax my thread, just get a little stick. And I'm going to leave a little bit, especially if you're going to hitch it, leave a little bit of a hook, eye out here so you can get your hitch in below that. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do it kind of halfway between a traditional hitch or short head up here and just for regular flies. And you see what I did right there is I held my thread right beside this hook. And I'm going to fill that gap, and I leave that thread there a little bit, so that it just helps me fill that gap. I'm going to have to spin a head on here. It's going to be a little tiny head. It's not hard to do at all. And I'm going to come back. And so now I've started to fill this gap. You can see it's going away. And I'm going to take a piece of, this is, and I used to do this with just straight silver Mylar. And I'm going to do this with holographic. I did both of them, this little gold one. I just like it. It looks cool. I mean, if you want to do it, you can do whatever you want. I actually used to do this also. I did it for an October caddis with, and I dubbed the body, identical fly other than the body, and I dubbed it with orange, I think it was orange squirrel, and it left it a little picking and ribbed it, but other than that, it was the same fly essentially. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to trap that right there on the side. I'm going to build a little bit of bulk here, and I'm just going to work backwards. And this is, I mean, for those of you who've watched me tie before, I always talk about going back and having my hook, my thread hang at the gouge. And I got my hook back a little bit far so you can't see it very well. On this particular, and I've mentioned this on a lot of my videos, and I say, that's all up to you. And I frequently have said, if I'm doing a low dress steelhead fly, and this is what I'm talking about. And when I do these, I go back to where my thread hits the tip of the hook, and that's where I stop. I don't go to the gouge on these, and so, but it's by design. And if you want to go a little bit forward, on this one, I usually go just a little bit forward. It's just consistency. You know, do it the way you like the looks of. You take there's this one goes back to the barb, or to the point, and so that's your finish point right there. So you come in here and you see I've got nice, tight, really clean wraps on this. This is where you're going to practice your thread control, and you're going to get a really clean underbody here. Come forward, and we're going to have very little build up in here. We're going to put 2 things on it, and that's it. And then we're going to have the head and the collar. It's a super fast fly. So now I'm going to take this, and I want you to see what I do with this mylar, because it's important that you get these tight. If you want to counter rib this, because the only thing that can really go wrong with this fly is you can hook a tooth in the body. If you want to counter, I don't do it's such a fast fly, I don't care. And so I'm going to go around here one time. You see it's flat, it's laying flat against the hook. You come across and bend it so it lays flat across itself. And right here, watch this mylar. Is that all there? I'm going to set that really tight. I'm going to have a really tight wrap. And this is just a little bit of underflash. About every 4th or 5th one, I give it a little bit extra tug. I just want to make sure it's really tight. And you can hear my fingers, I'm squeaking as I go around there. That means I'm not ever letting it get loose. The problem that's most often when you see with these is people go around and they'll lighten up right there, and they'll get a gap. And when they get that gap in there, that's what makes it really easy to nick a tooth in there and break this stuff all off, and you're done. Now go a little, just on this, when you first do one of these, that's a turn too much, but for me, but it doesn't hurt to go up almost to the head, because you can cover it. Just don't short yourself right here. So I'm going to do one turn right there, and I'm just looking at where I'm going to have my head's going to be pretty short. I'm going to come in here, it's that 3rd turn. I'm going to stretch that. See how far I stretch that? That assures me that it's not loose. It's anchored almost without the thread. It's set, right? So here I'm going to cover that up. I'm going to go back just no, that's perfect. Now I'm going to, and this is optional. I did it on my own. Some of them, I did the other one without it. This one here doesn't have it on. Usually I put, hold on, these are great little, this is a Tupperware container. These are great for squirrel tails. Usually I would put a little fox squirrel tail on underneath that. Not usually, I do it both ways. And on the silver one, I do just gray squirrel. They're all tails. These are great tail containers, by the way. They're Tupperware containers. Unless you do these yourself, if you buy these things, they don't take the bone out of this tail. It's hard, right? Snap. These things will frequently get a pretty good stink to them. And calf tails are the same. I've got calf tails and squirrel tails in here. Odor free. So it's a great little container. Now I'm going to stand this, and I'm going to show you a little thing about working with squirrel tail. Right now they're laying back and they're angled. It's a sharp. See how fast that goes up its tail? They're all angled like this, and they're all going to be different lengths. You can see it's shorter here, longer here. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to turn it off to the side, simply so it straightens them up so they're the same length. I won't have to stack this. And I'm not going to need, I want very little of this. So I'm standing it off to the side, trimming it off, and I'm just going to look, and you'll see I still have some short ones. I'm simply going to look, I'm going to look in here at I need about 1/3 of what's here. I'm going to grab it by the tip, and I'm going to let all this stuff I don't want slide down. You could stack this if you want. I kind of like the randomness. I don't let it really random. You see I still get a pretty clean line. You can stack it if you want, but that's fine. And it's still got a little bit more than I want in there. This is just a accent more than it is anything. It does stabilize the wing a little bit. And I'm going to show you when I tie my non-compressible hair. There's 2 types of hair, hollow and solid, or compressible and non-compressible. When I tie my non-compressible hair in, I do it a little different than a lot of people. I'm going to set this so it's just about the length, so the white's right to the end of the hook right here. It's not very much of it's going to show. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut this at a 45 going up. And you'll see why in a second. Now we're going to turn our thread. We're going to spin it to the right so that it lays against our hand. So we don't fight this. We're not pushing our hair away from us. We're going to have a pinch wrap. We're going to come in. We're going to set it. And now what's going to happen when I've got that, when I have that 45-degree cut that goes down, I'm going to have the highest compression on the bottom. I'm going to work forward. I'm going to go all the way to the end of the tips of this hair. And what you're going to see is that there's virtually no build at all in your hair. And you better be able to grab this and pull as hard as you can and nothing slips out. If you cut it straight, you're going to have a bump. If you cut it the other way, the first wrap's going to be on the top first hairs, and that one will be the one that slides out. This way it's all compressed nice and tight down against the body. Come back here. And so it's just this little clean wing. I'm not going to let it stand up too high. If you want to glue that right now, that's fine too. You don't need it. But make sure that this hair is solid. I'm pulling on the hook. It's not coming out of this body, off the top of the hook. And so it's important that that thing's set. When you set that angle like that, it really helps you set it. And I've got no buildup in there. Now, the next thing is the wing. This is the one that we're kind of our model, right? And this is where this gold one, this is a great place if you buy mallard, or if you can get it from somebody that hunts. This is hen mallard here, right? Same thing, same flank. And you can see you get these really cool looking, this would be just a really great looking feather to put in here, right? It's brown, it's nicely shaped, it's right there. That's a hen flank. You can do whatever, there's only two, I only do this in a couple colors. You can do bronze, you can set these, or this is just traditional because it's the silver one. I'm just going to use the regular mallard flank, but I want you to see something. This is one we just plucked off of a duck. This is flank, right? This is that thing. This is the wing pocket on the duck right here. And those are all perfectly aligned flank feathers. You get down just a little bit, and this is what most of the manufacturers call flank. It's down further. It's really belly. It's not flank. Flank is just that stuff on the side. And so what you're getting is you're getting a lot of little short ones that, like if you're doing a bigger fly, it wouldn't work for you as well. But this is a good place to use this. You don't have to have these super perfect feathers for this because there's just not much to it. So I just grabbed a couple. I like them to be pointy if I can get them that way, like on that brown one. But if it doesn't really matter. You can just pull them and go. This one's fine. And if you've got a compromised feather, that's fine too. It's not, you're going to use so little of this, it's unbelievable. And you can also do a roll on these if you want to trim these off and roll them up. It's fine. It doesn't mean it won't work. I like to have the flank or the full feather in that instead of rolling them. And so I'm going to take two, and I'm going to use two of them. I'm going to put this one right on top. I'm just going to look it over, make sure it's nice and clean. I'm going to set one right on top of this. This is going to be the shorter of the two. This is going to kind of be the stabilizer. It's not the one that's going to, it's just, if you've got a feather, like this isn't that great of a feather. I didn't like the looks of it as much. I'm going to cover it with a second one like this. And if you want to go in and find, and I was going through on these bronze, you'll frequently see those if you get to pick your own. If you get in there, you can find a bunch of short ones. They're kind of pointy like this hen was. You just got to dig around. But it's a great, like I said, it's a great use for these feathers that usually when you buy flank feather, it's about 10 flanks and the rest of it's belly. I mean, it's just the way, nobody's sorting this stuff for you. They go to the game farms and, they get the pluckers, they put them in the machine, pluck all the feathers, and it goes into one giant bag. And the flanks and the belly, there's a lot more belly feathers than there are flank. So now talking too long right there. I let that wouldn't be a bad idea to give yourself a little bit of wax on your thread right there. Get him out of the way. And this one's going to be slightly longer. It's going to go right over the top, right over the other feather. Just a little bit longer feather. Set it, just make sure, look at it, make sure it's right on the top. Right over top of it like that. Good. Come back here to where we're going to have our head. Now we're just going to do, you'll see, we're always talking about rules with fly tying. Every tyer has their own way of doing things, right? But one thing you'll see is you don't be afraid to manhandle it a little bit. Like you see what I did was I pushed down and I pushed down my materials and not letting things loosen up. And I'm just making sure when I mess with this, when you see me grab it, I'm making sure things are where I want them. If they're not, don't be afraid to stop and go backwards. If you consistently won't go backwards and take stuff off your hook, you're going to consistently have a problem with the fly. And so right there, I was messing around. I was going to unwrap it and say I can go backwards. Don't be afraid to go in and look and say, yeah, that wasn't good. This one's not right. Nothing happened. Just went backwards. I did a thing on tying tips the other day, and a buddy of mine, Dick Shaw, wrote in. He says, you missed the most important one of all. Go back and undo it. And I thought, you're right. That may be the best trick or thing of all fly tying, is don't be afraid to stop and go backwards. So I just undid that one, got a better feather, came in here, set it right on top, and I'm pushing it down. It's right where I want it. Don't be afraid to grab both. This is what, you see, I always set with my feathers, I'll be, especially on these flanks. Somebody pick up the phone. Bingo, it worked. And so I grab these by both ends. You see, when I was saying I was manhandling, I get in there and I look around, and if you do that, if you manipulate your materials, if you've got 3 or 4 wraps on, you have to unwrap. You can't move things around and manhandle them a little bit. Then you got to go back and make sure it's set nice and tight, because you'll mess with the set. You're pushing things around, your thread's getting pushed. You have to make sure it's nice, nice and tight. So drop a half hitch in here if you have to. That one I messed with a lot. And don't be afraid to throw a little glue right here, because I'm going to give this just I talked a lot right there. And I'm just going to, glue's not your savior, but it doesn't hurt if you know everything's tight. But don't think it'll save a bad set. So now we're down to pretty much the end of it. And I've got some medium, short, fine, not really like compare done style hair, but more like short spinning hair. And this is going to get a really nice collar. We're going to have a nice, you can see on this one here, just enough to make it. We're going to stabilize this fly with that. And if you're going to skate it, if you're going to skate this on the surface, you can grease line it even. This helps your fly stay upright. You don't want it spinning sideways, because it's going to just take away from the overall look of the fly in the water. So I cleaned that out. I just took it through the comb. If you're using a hand comb, that's fine too. It's not a giant collar, but it's just big enough. And again, that's personal. That's a completely whatever you like the looks of. So I'm going to take this, and this is just like we've done every collar in history. We're going to come in here, and we're going to about a third right here, about a third of it, and cut. We're back. We had a little interruption. If you haven't noticed, this is a loose set. We shoot in the shop, and so people walk in and screaming, "Hi, how you doing?" So we answer. So we broke there for a second.
You kick your coffee cup.
Yeah, get off my back. You guys are riding me. So, like I was saying before the break, I'm going to run this. I've got, and this is personal. However you like what do you like the looks of when you do these things? Because this is a simple fly. There's nothing to it. And it's a little skater, it's a twitcher, it's made to just dart around. And you'll get the, you'll see what you like the looks of and the thickness of the collars and stuff like that. I like about 1/3 of the length. I'm going to take that, I'm going to switch to my left hand. I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to spin this thread just a little bit. I like my thread to be round when I put these on, and the other thing I do is I like it to lay, when you spin that, it'll lay back against your hand. See, I'm not fighting it. It's trying to, and when you spin it clockwise, it'll try to lay back to your left. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to pull down, I've got a nice firm grip. This is how we set every collar and every elk hair caddis. I do my second turn, I've got a nice tight grip on there, so then it goes halfway around the hook. I don't want it to go all the way around the hook and have to fight it later. And then I'm going to go right through that, 1, 2, and I'm right in front of that. Whoops, kind of squished my wing. And I'm going to push that down, just like that. I kind of was holding on to that and squished that wing a little bit. Doesn't matter. That wing's, that's not a, it's going to be just fine, just how it is. So you can see I've got, it's about what I like for my collars. And I've got it nice and clean right here. You can see the underbody. You can see that, can't you, Jeremy? Yep. So it's halfway down. All it's there to do is stabilize. It's not there to go around and be part of the body. So I'm going to do one turn, just one nice medium clump of hair here. It doesn't have to be, this is not a big sculpin head. This is not a big fly. This is a minnow. And so we don't need it to be a big head on here like we would a Zoo Cougar or something like that. I'm going to clean that hair out nicely. And I'm going to keep this, I want this stack to be really close to the head, or to the collar, excuse me. I cut that out, I just want all that to be gone. And again, I'm going to back this off, I'm going to get right close, right to where I was, right to where my collar was. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go 1. And because this hook is a double hook, it's more important right now that you let this, you see how I'm letting it work around. I don't have a full turn on it right now. So there's 1. Don't try not to trap any hairs here. 2, and I'm letting it, you see I'm wiggling this around, and you can see it's at an angle now. And I'm letting it get down around that hook. And because that hook it's flat, it's 2 wires, it's gonna have a little bit of trouble spinning. So I just come down, and there, I've got my turn, and then I'm gonna look, and just to make double sure your heads don't spin, and it doesn't hurt to go right through this hair, just like that, and stand it up. And you can give it 1 or 2 turns. I'm going to take it, I'm going to make sure it's nice and back. I'm looking just to see. That's nice, that's perfect. Ouch, not perfect, sliding off and sticking yourself. So I'm going to come in here, I'm just going to give it a nice little head. I don't want a big giant, ideally it's like a 3-turn head. And I'm going to try not to trap too many of those hairs, but I'm going to finish this more importantly so we can get done. Okay, see how hard I pulled on that? In we go. Now, I always trim these things with a blade. This is such a small head, you can do this with the scissors very quickly if you don't want to do this. I like to run in here and just hit this flat. I like this under to be nice and flat because, again, this is going to be the stabilizer. Right? We know this hair is part of that head. It doesn't get to stay there. And cut that off nice and straight. This is just for you. This is just purely for aesthetics, right? And so we're going to come in and just round this out. I like to work with a blade. If you want to do this with the scissors, that's fine. It's just a little head. It's not, you can get it done with a pair of scissors really quick. I like to work with the blade to start out, I get the shape I want, and I keep it a little bit on the round. Get off of there. Come back from this side. I'm just gonna, and I want that eye to show. See how far that's out there? I want that to show. In case you wanted to hitch, you could hitch right there. A lot of people hitch way back into the head, so that's just up to you. But I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna clip this around, more for aesthetics than anything. And like I told you, it's a super, no chatter. If you were just tying this thing, you can tie one of these things in 3-4 minutes if you just go. I mean, it's a super simple fly to tie. So I'm not gonna play with this head much more. I'm just gonna trim just a few little pieces off so you can see it when I put it in the vise. It's cute. It's got everything's nice and clean. You want to glue that head right now. Come in here, just check to see if there's any ardent hairs that aren't where they belong. Beautiful. And that's all there is to it. So I could trim this head just a little bit more just to clean it up a little bit, but for the sake of keeping things moving. So you can see it's the wing. I'm going to trim that just a little bit more when I do, before I spin this thing around so you can see it. I'll just clean it up, but you can see it's super simple, super easy. There's nothing to the underbody. Does that show up there, Jeremy? You can see it's a nice, clean little reflective value to it. It's going around, it's sparkling a little light. It's super fast. I mean, if you want to take that fox tail out, or the squirrel tail, if you want to take that out, it doesn't hurt a thing. I did this one without it so you could see both of them. You know, there's no fox. It just holds the wing a little bit. I did it on all my old ones, so I keep doing it. It really doesn't make any difference. This is an incredibly great. If you fish dry lines, if you don't want to, you know, you're not dedicated to the whole sinking line and all that junk, and you want to have a fly that you can just pull out and just catch lots of fish, you know, just twitching it on a dry fly just for fun, this fly is money. They eat this thing to death. So, and super simple. You can see it's a fun little fly. It's a simple tie, really elegant. It's a pretty little fly. You can take a lot of feathers and use it on that back. You just turn around, and you can also do it with quill wings if you want, like a traditional muddler. I like it like this. You know, if you want to do a muddler, but this is just kind of a fun little fly, super simple and really fast to tie. Hope you like it. Hope it helps you out.